Okay, thank you everybody for joining this evening. I'm so excited to present to you this new webinar in our series of introducing you to business leaders from the Badruka School of Management. Uh, if you don't know much about Badruka, I really hope you go to our website and see what we are all about. Later, post the webinar, I'll also put up some QR codes that you could scan to see our brochure as well as the website. My name is Nidhi Reddy. I am an advisor to the Badruka School of Management. And really, it is my privilege to speak with Mr. Alok Dubey today, who's a stalwart of the retail and fashion industry in India. Alok, after a very diverse sort of educational background, joined the Times of India Group. Then he went on to work at Swatch, then Titan, then Arvind, Reliance, and now is the CEO of Apparel Group India. For those who don't know, Apparel is the group that brings international fashion brands to India like Anne Klein, like Aldo, Pink, Bath and Body Works, all those real shiny stores that you see in those shiny malls. But Alok also leads the homegrown India fashion division of apparel. So if there's anybody who knows retail inside out in India, it is Alok. And really, I'm quite excited to talk to him today. So thank you, Alok, for being here with us. Really appreciate it. Just to sort of start off with, if you wanted to say something, or I can start off with, I have a few questions. Then I'm going to open it up to the audience to ask a few questions, and then so about 20 to 25 minutes of me asking you questions, and about 15-20 minutes of the audience asking you questions, and then we'll see where it goes. Is that okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Nidhi, and for the good introduction that you've given me. Yes, it's been a long journey. I started in 1988 after doing my MBA from an upcoming institute like the one that you have opened. And then in those days, there were few MBA colleges, and I'm an accidental entrant into the management education. I wanted to pursue a different stream of profession, but nevertheless, once I was in, I began my career with Times of India Group. I joined them as a management trainee. In 2 years, I moved to work for Titan, where I worked for the longest time, for almost about a decade, and worked in various roles from sales to marketing to brand management, and also launched a new brand there called Sonata, which became
Yeah.
a resounding
Yeah.
success. So that was,
Absolutely.
yeah, I worked in international markets and then moved on to work for the Swatch Group when they were launching in India. 3 years in Swatch, and then I moved to Arvind, where that was my first stint with fashion, real fashion, which covers 90% of your belonging, whatever you have, of your being. And while the rest of the 10% is what I was doing before, selling products, marketing products which have more outward directed self-esteem, which is like
Yeah.
watches and
Yeah.
wearables, etc.
Yeah.
I worked in Arvind for 18 years, a long career. I was new to fashion, so I started with what I knew and not got into straight away into product, etc. And learned my way, got into a business role quickly. And then I was there leading the development of many large brands like US Polo Association, which is a 2000 crore brand now. Uh, I got an opportunity in 2021 from Reliance Brands to set up a new division for them, which is basically to create new brands for them in the segment where they were missing, uh, largely between 2000 and 5000 rupees. Reliance was operating either in the value segment or in the luxury segment. We didn't have anything in between, which is where the market was. And I worked there for 2 years, and then I came to head this value brand called R&B, which is a late entrant to India in the value business, but we have deep insights into this business because we run a very large business in the Middle East. So there I am. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope we can learn both ways. I would learn from the questions that your audience asks, and if you have any questions for me, please start with your.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, really, you're in the hot seat, right? And I'm quite excited because I can ask you all those things that I've been dying to find out from somebody who understands retail so well. But let me just sort of take a step back and let me quickly ask you, you moved around cities while growing up. You did your undergrad in Agra, then you did your MBA in Meerut, and then worked in a bunch of other places in the heartland of India, if I may say so. Uh,
Yes.
you know, what is it, those key moments during this journey that set you on this path that you're at today? There's something that happened over there. I know you were very interested in extracurricular activities. So there's something that happened there that put you on this path of fashion and
Yeah.
retail and business.
Correct. Yeah. So I think sometimes rejection sets you in the right path. And well, I was very keen to join the National School of Drama, and I got selected because at that time I had almost won all the awards at the university and inter-university competitions in production as well as in acting of in theater. And I was very keen to pursue a career there, but I couldn't get there because there were 30 seats and each state had a quota. And despite being slightly high on the merit, I got rejected because I was not fulfilling, I was not carrying a recommendation letter or wasn't belonging to. So I got rejected and I got a little dejected. But at the same time, I'd applied for this V school and I got selected there. And there, while I said I will pursue my performing arts thing, let me just get admitted here and then and but once I got into the ropes, I started learning. I started enjoying that part because somewhere inherently I had a knack for business and I had a knack for consumers and insights and whether it came from constantly changing cities, constantly meeting new people, constantly making new friends, and understanding how to fit in, uh, and still excel. So, but the turning point was when I did my summer training with the Times of India group, and that was a very large project for them, and I don't know why they selected me for that, but I was fortunate to land into that, and that was there was a newspaper called Economic Times. It is one of the largest dailies now in financial. And that time it was a newspaper which was printed on broadsheet. It was type the font was typeface, and it used to look like it has been printed on a typewriter. It was so boring. And whereas media all over
I
the world,
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
yeah, and Times of India was trying to kind of resurface, and the new generation of leaders was coming in, including the three children of Mr. Jain. They were trying to change everything. They were trying to build the media business in a very different way. And they wanted to change the newspaper and wanted to introduce a color section in the Economic Times, which was a project given to me. And I had to go and meet top 50 advertisers and top 50 agencies and get their views. That interaction, I think, with the top leadership of India, top 50 advertisers meant I was meeting the HUL chairman, but the Times of India card was giving me the entry, and I got to learn so much from those 15-20 minute interactions. I said, this is where the action is, and this is where I need to be. And that kind of turned the chapter, and I decided to come into mainstream business rather than do into performing arts or do something else. Times of India gave me an offer that time, and I joined them. And I worked there for 2 years. And while that was more a distribution and response business, I was not happy because it was just while it was a your first company and you love the first company. But I felt that in terms of career move, it was more verticalization. I will grow very fast, but I will soon be, a
Deeply
very
entrenched.
high praying
Yeah,
individual in this
yeah,
in that industry, but it's a golden
yeah,
cage.
yeah.
So I said, let me break the golden cage. And unlike many others who would not take a job for lower salary, I took a job for lower salary to be in Titan.
Oh, wow.
And
Mm.
I moved from my comfort zone, which is I was staying at home with my parents, and I said, no, I will go and work outside. And everybody said, are you fool? You're working for a good company, getting a very good salary, accepting a job with lower salary, getting into a new industry, changing cities. What are you doing? I said, no, but this is what I need to do.
Yeah,
And then I never regretted that decision because
yeah,
Titan gave me the width, the verticalization that I was stuck into. I got into horizontal. I
yeah,
understood retail. Titan was a pioneer in retail that time.
yeah,
Retail,
yeah,
not many people understood retail,
yeah.
but we were that. It was a multi-distribution company. We were doing all channels of sales, including
Wow.
after sales service. So that was, and the system there was that the country was divided into 55 or 56 SMUs, and each SMU, a sales and marketing unit, the person who was looking after that sales and marketing unit was working like a CEO. So while you are a small fish, but you still were very, very relevant because you learned
Yeah,
every nuance of the business. You were managing your own P&L
you were managing
just
your, yeah,
out of the college.
yeah.
So it's
That's
almost
a
like a,
fascinating experience, isn't it? Even your experience at times, for that matter. As an intern, you went and met the top CEOs of the country. I think it is only, you can only do that when you get a break through your school or your college or your MBA school for such opportunities. It's
that's
rare
right.
to come
That's right.
across those
That's
otherwise.
right. That's
And
right.
I'm sure the Times internship may not have been your first choice. You may have wanted
But
other.
that it was the only choice.
Oh, well, then it worked
Well,
out.
those days people wanted to go and work in HUL and
Yeah,
Procter and Gamble, but
yeah,
nobody looked at Times of India. But that was the only choice.
you
And
had,
but
yeah.
yeah, I had that only choice. But I
And
think that
you
was one
know,
of the best projects that I,
yeah, I can
all yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
The country was also changing around that time, right? Retail was opening up. India was opening up as a country, early 90s, and that's when you were at Titan. So you've seen the growth and the way the industry has morphed. Uh, if you had to, if you had to go back and say that these were the few things that were really changing for retail during then, what would those be?
Well, those things have continued to change. We are talking about a time when Titan was getting into retail. We had no choice
Hmm.
because it was a very distribution-driven
Business, yeah.
business, which
Hmm.
was dominated by HMT.
Yeah,
And sometimes competition leads you to open new doors.
yeah.
And HMT was blocking the entry of Titan
Oh,
because they
yeah.
were trying to, because the retailers were so dependent on HMT that whatever HMT said they had to do. If they
Mm.
said don't keep Titan, they will not stop Titan. So it happened in Hyderabad first, where
Hmm.
there was a large cartel which was made by HMT, and they said Titan will not sell here. So they used to be in traditional market. There was two, three large traditional markets
Hmm.
where you would buy these kind of products from, and trust was the main thing. The owner, whatever the owner says, you will buy that watch
Sure.
because you trust the owner, the guy who was
Sure.
standing behind the counter.
Mm.
That time, not now.
Mm.
Now you have
Mm.
faceless
Yeah, yeah.
e-commerce. Completely you buy anything on e-commerce now. Those days, the trust between the seller and the buyer was very, very high. So Titan was not finding a way to enter Hyderabad as a market. And you are in Hyderabad, so I'm giving you that example.
Hmm.
And it was in Abbott's, that area which
Yeah,
was big
yeah.
for watches.
Oh, so many watch
Then
companies, yeah.
Titan decided that we'll open 4 stores. And they opened 4 stores. First store came up in Somajiguda. And
Still
then they
there, I
opened one
think. Yeah.
store. Yeah, they opened a store in Abbott's.
Hmm.
That turned the whole game plan. It was just to break that cartel that they thought about opening stores. But
Hmm.
we found a new way of
of retail.
reaching out to
Yeah,
the consumer, and
yeah,
that taught us a lot of lessons that there is no gap between you and the customer, and Tata name is giving the trust that the retailer who was standing behind the counter is giving. So that led to an overall expansion of retail stores in the country. Second thing was that the generation was changing. People were bored of similar looking products, and they were looking and aspiring for new products. We are talking about the early 90s when
yeah,
liberalization came into
yeah,
India,
yeah.
and so color TV media became more vibrant, awareness increased. Uh, you got cable TV in some time after that, and with that, you're able to reach out in a large way because people were using media as a stimuli to learn more and more about the product. There was no social media that time,
Sure, sure.
and you had to only rely on the discovery model. You go to the showroom, then you will know what is available as new.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fundamental change. I've seen change from the grassroots level where there was no
Yeah,
retail channel
yeah.
to a very
Multiple.
successful and very profitable retail channel. We
Yeah.
got new entrepreneurs in the business. We realized that there were a lot of first generation entrepreneurs who had multiple children and educated
Mm-hmm.
daughters and wives.
Mm,
We got them into the business to run the stores
wow.
because they would find something to which is easy to invest in, which is transparent. So multiple things were used at that time, and that changed the game
Yeah.
to now, which is franchising is a very large business now. Retail is
Mm-hmm.
a huge industry.
Yeah.
We are now looking beyond retail. Commerce is what we look at now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it is in the form of an offline store or an online store, it is still your connect with the consumer is
Sure.
reducing, and the
Mm-hmm.
journeys are becoming sharper.
Sure. But while retail as a sector has changed, so has consumer behavior. From those days to now, what changes have you seen over the years in consumer behavior itself?
It's a whole cycle. The cycle starts from the expertise getting transferred from the manufacturer to
Mm-hmm.
the retailer, which
Mm-hmm.
is where I was at that
Mm-hmm.
stage.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the, the significant change in a framework,
Mm-hmm.
and then the expertise changes from the retailer to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the expertise is in the hands of the consumer. You are making products for the consumer. You're looking at insights. You're looking at the gaps. In
Yeah.
those days, you will tell the consumer what to buy.
This is
Then
what
the
you should be
consumer
having.
learns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
today, the expertise is in the hands of the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
He decides what he wants to buy, and he will tell you what I want to buy. And that's where it is leading. All these Gen AI experiments that are going on are all in the area of I will learn enough about you so that I can give you what you want.
True, true. And there are so many things that are transferable. But I feel retail is quite particular to your environment that you operate in. So what works in, say, the US or Europe may not necessarily work in India. What works in Myanmar, where you were there, and you must tell us some stories about that, where you were there, may not be the same as what works in another town in India, right? So, uh, what unique challenges do you face in the Indian environment? Right? Something that may not be globally relevant.
Yeah. Okay. While retail in India may be different from retail in US, only in terms of the size of the stores
Mm-hmm.
or the preferences of the consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So merchandise mix may be different,
Yep.
but all the standard principles of retail are the same.
Ah.
All the standard principles, same.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone works on yield management, which is what is the return per square feet. Okay, you can have a store of 100,000 square feet or you can have a store of 1,000 square feet. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
the key metrics is what are you making out of each square feet area, right? In the watch business, it was not even square feet; it was square inch because each
Sure.
watch each watch was occupying only that much area. So
Sure.
the metric remains the same. The challenges are more in terms of merchandise mix and offerings. okay, and to find the right location. The retail conducive environment in the West is far more developed. In our country, the retail conducive environment is still in, I think, the first or the maybe slightly early second stage of development. Our retail stores are still not very conveniently located.
Mm.
Uh, if you look at the weekends, if you have to get inside a mall and come out of it, that takes more time than shopping. So these
Yeah.
are some of the things that are not yet designed that well in India. But I
Mhm.
hope that with urbanization and with more spaces opening up, retail is going to come closer to you. That's why this quick commerce and other solutions work in India where they're not even required in the US.
Sure.
So that they're still working on a click and collect model, whereas we are saying that I will bring the store to your home. Why are you
Mm.
bothered about coming to
Yeah.
the mall? So I think
And
that's the thing. Second is we are running and learning. Whereas in the West and even in China, which achieved what we have achieved in 2024, China achieved in 2005. So they are
yeah,
15, 20 years ahead
ahead
of
of us.
us.
Yeah.
We are the last frontiers in retail. Maybe Myanmar, maybe they were also very well developed when I went there and that I'm talking about 95. They had malls, they had department stores. We didn't have any, that time. So it's a India is the last frontier, but what is happening in India is now much faster than any other place.
Mm.
If you look at the whole retail business, we will be the third largest retail business in the world in the next 5 to 7 years. So there's a large market which is waiting. The second thing is we have a young population. Two-thirds of our population will be under 25 years in some time to come. That is a large consuming class, and that is a migrating population. They go for work where it is required. They stay, in not in the city. They stay on outskirts. The consumer is very evolved. They are aware. They are seeking everything from Instagram. They want everything instant. If they saw it yesterday, they want it today. So retail
So
is evolving into a concept of see now, buy now. That kind of stuff. That's
yeah,
where we are, and those are the challenges. How do you get to satisfy the needs that have just emerged? How do you get it right?
yeah, yeah,
Immediately,
yeah,
because he doesn't want it tomorrow. He wanted it yesterday.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
so
that's
it's
yeah,
it's funny you brought this because I wanted to ask this to you. You worked with a lot of youthful brands, right? Youth-facing brands, youthful brands, and they are a different sort of group to attract. So, can you give us some insight? The one or two things that you did that were different, or some unique challenges that you face while dealing with this target segment?
yeah. Okay, youth is a very complex and a very simple target audience. Okay, very simple and very complex. First of all, they don't make effort. Howsoever much you tell them that this is my point of view, unless they think that it is resonating with their point of view, they will not listen to you. So you have to get it right, and communication with the youth is the most important thing. And communication does not mean that you put an ad in the newspaper and they'll understand. They will never understand it. They don't even read the newspaper. I have two young children at home. They don't touch the newspaper. They don't even watch TV. They are whatever they're getting either peer influence
Hmm.
or they're using social influence, and that's how they decide. So I worked with multiple brands which are catering to youth. Swatch is one of them.
Yeah.
Basically, the learnings from Swatch was that you tell the right stories and create very strong cultural nuances when you're dealing with youth into your product.
Hmm.
And when you are able to marry the cultural nuances with the product and you are able to convert that into a story, you don't need to create anything else. Then the youth will come to you to buy because then you are cooler than them. The brand has to look cooler than the generation. That is
Yeah.
what works.
Yeah.
There are many brands. I worked with a brand called Diesel.
Yeah.
Diesel does advertising which nobody understands. And that makes it cool because the entire generation thinks that this brand knows slightly more than me.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you
Swatch
always
was
have
also
to
like
be
that.
a step
Swatch
ahead.
was also ulta see the advertising, but
Mhm.
create world-class products.
Mhm.
Give variety, give flavor, give talk to them in their language, but be
Yeah.
look smarter than look ahead
The
of
others.
the generation.
Yeah.
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 The
What
recent
are
example is Zudio, which is our competitor.
yeah.
Wonderful work they've done. They have democratized fashion for the young, and the underlying philosophy was Mr. Noel Tata's daughter said that I want to go to a store and buy three products for 500 rupees. Can you give me that? She's a young girl,
Young
okay?
girl. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is what is the principle of creating Zudio. Three
Yeah.
products under 500 rupees. For 500,
So
not under 500. 300, three for 500.
wow. So accessibility, that edgy factor,
Yeah.
coolness, all of that.
Availability, accessibility, and
Mhm.
affordability.
Yeah.
These are the three things that work for youth.
So the other thing I think what you did, and maybe with Swatch, nobody was really focusing on the youth in any case. Like watches were being made for adults. Nobody was really making watches for youth. So there was also this, target segment that you found, which was quite unique and almost like a monopoly in that section, didn't you?
That's right. I read an article about 5, 6 years back, and it just was bang on, saying that in India, Salman Khan is youth. He's 50 years old.
Yeah. But he's a
So
youth
when you
icon for sure.
he's an icon. He's an icon. I don't know for youth or not, but he's an icon. But you can't be a 50 year and be,
Yeah.
so somebody will call you uncle someday.
Yeah.
You're not a youth icon in the real sense. But you look at the youth icons that they're following. They're following animation. They're not really believing that humans can be icons. They follow
Sure.
animation. They follow some weird celebrities.
Yeah, yeah. Like YouTubers and
YouTubers. They have to feel real. They
yeah,
they should not see actors. They don't want
yeah.
to see actors. They want to see performing stars. Music, the rock bands.
Rock bands or
The
sports people, or you know.
They want
Yeah.
to see real people,
Mm.
real performance. The actors they don't believe. The actor endorsing is way out now.
Retail also went through its challenges in the past few years, what with the pandemic, other things like inflation, global supply chain issues after the Ukraine war, and so on and so forth. How did you manage this whole uncertainty? And honestly, I also want you to look back on your maybe your education or your experiences that gave you that education in some sense to manage these things. So one, what were these challenges, and then how did you manage it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a very small story. And now because Kumbh is going on, my first assignment in Times of India was a 55-day posting in the Mahakumbh. Okay, and we had created a rural marketing project, and I was posted. And One agency came and sold the idea that there'll be 1 crore visitors every day. So overall, if you look at the number of people coming in, even if you sell one newspaper extra to 10 out of 10,000 people, you will be selling, lakhs of newspapers during this, and it'll build the brand. So it sounded like a no brainer, and without even checking on what the real statistics is going to be there, the company invested a huge amount of money. They took a large pandal, hired five video vans and all kind of paraphernalia, and one target was given that this is what we need to achieve during this period. So I landed up there and had a couple of seniors there. We realized that there were all this report that was given was the total number that they promised for one day was actually going to be the number on six big snans, and
Oh,
all the other 55 days is going to be some 7, 8 lakh people there. So that
wow.
now nobody was willing to admit that that target cannot be done. But they slowly left and they left me there.
So you
and
were left in charge.
I was the Mela in charge there. In that time, we said we are not giving up. We will work around this and we'll see whatever maximum we can do. So that 55 days taught me what multi-channel marketing and distribution was because there were no hawkers. We went to the Parag milk booths and we started keeping our newspapers there because people would come to buy milk. Then we started doing free sampling. Then we went to the ashrams and we said, we will put your photo in it. Will you buy 500 copies every day from me? So you evolve. You
Yeah,
create when you are
new channels. Yeah, yeah.
stuck in a situation. You evolve
Yeah.
and you improvise and you deal with it. Similarly, during the pandemic, when supply chains were broken, we realized that supply chains are broken globally. The shipping channels are broken globally. So we need not do things and reduce our over dependence on supply chain from outside. Let's maximize our product strategy to be within India only and maximize on that. What can we do with this? So, for example, there was footwear which had to be imported from China, and those chains were broken. We said, let's put down footwear, release the space. Can we replace it with something else? Can we do more of something else? Can we do track pants which are not we are not doing that time? We did a huge business because everybody was sitting at home and they were wanting those kind of clothes. We produce so sometimes you have to improvise. The fashion business has three pillars: newness, responsiveness, and agility. You have to be agile. You have to anticipate that something can go wrong. There's so many moving parts in fashion business that it's impossible to control every variable.
Yeah.
Something will go wrong. You have to be ready to find an answer. And therefore, you have to be very, very responsive and agile in this
And trends
business.
are so fickle. So,
You can still manage trends because trends are finalized almost 9 months in advance. We work on a 9 month cycle. Our product development cycle is almost 9 months. So
mhm.
right now we are at the beginning of spring summer. Our designers are already working on next year's spring summer.
Mm.
The whole world works like this. So it
Mhm.
works on a long cycle.
Mhm.
But then intermediate trends come and you have to be ready. So in this business, you create a buy very long back, almost 9 months back. But you leave 15-20%
For
for
that.
response products, for
Mhm.
speed to market products, where
Mhm.
you will take some bet on maybe a fabric or on a style and just keep holding till the time you confirm the trend is there. And then
Yeah.
you action it fast. But
Mhm.
you need captive capacity. So you need to do a lot of planning here. So
Yeah.
when maybe your next question would be how does the MBA student prepare for this and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what are the
Absolutely.
so
With
there's a
such
lot of
a,
value, yeah,
yeah.
a lot of value that this education adds for people who want to get into the apparel and fashion business or in retail and e-commerce business because it's becoming sophisticated by the day. It cannot be run by people who come out on lift. They can run only a part of business, which is a sophisticated part of the business or softer part of the business. But the hard part of business, which is dealing with supply chain, with retail planning, with assortments, with merchandising, with analyzing square feet, you need very strong business and financial backgrounds and a ticking mind, all the time. Yeah.
I also feel you need a lot of, the ability to work in ambiguity or resilience, all of which hopefully a great MBA will give you. Uh, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And more importantly, I think while these are values, what MBA gives you is to analyze things in a framework.
Mhm.
You put everything in perspective, you make a decision tree, you find alternates. You are basically creating a framework through which you can find solutions,
Yeah.
which is more logical than just going and hitting blindly something. So
Yeah.
MBA definitely provides a big edge, and
Mhm.
especially with technology and business merging, seamlessly.
Mhm.
MBA education is very, very valuable for the future for retail business.
Yeah. And you, in fact, did it almost all over again, right? You did your MBA right after graduation, then you worked for many years, and then you went back to school for a little bit to IIM
Yes,
Bangalore,
almost a
and
year, full year.
a
I did
full
full year.
year. You did the
Yeah,
full year
full year,
program,
full year.
and you did I think you did the advanced management program over there.
I did AMP, AMP.
Refreshed your entire,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So
yeah.
what was that experience like, and what
It
were
was
your takeaways?
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. See, when I studied, while the education was the same, the context had changed completely. You know, we were being taught on the cases that were written in the 70s or 80s. And but in when you go back to the school in 2010, you hear about newer generation companies. You hear about Toyotas. You hear about 7-Elevens. All the cases were very different. Then there was part of that program was also a 1 week immersive program.
Immersion, yeah.
Yeah, immersion in a foreign university. So we went to HEC in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and there we did a full course on luxury management, luxury brand management, and marketing, and real case studies. We went to travel to the Champagne region to understand how wines are made and what builds
How
a
to
luxury
market it?
brand.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, how do
yeah,
they market the brand?
yeah, yeah.
What goes into it? So it was
Mm-hmm.
very, very interesting. We learned things about
And
project
the
management, which were very new.
nuances, yeah, the nuances of all of that. Yeah, yeah,
Nuances, yeah.
yeah.
So I think it was very relevant because when I went back to the college, I was looking at the last 10 years of my career. And
Mm-hmm.
I said the last 10 years of my career should be like the first 10 years of my career where I go prepared,
Yeah,
because now I'm going to do the top job and I must
yeah,
be aware of what's going to happen in the next
yeah.
10 years.
Sure.
And what better place to go than go back to the classroom and learn with
Yeah,
a cohort.
yeah. And
Yeah,
talking about the cohort, the MBA school always gives you two types of learning, right? One, of course, is from your professors and all the knowledge that you gain. But the cohort is really, really important to you. Your
absolutely.
peers are going to be your support system for the rest of your life in some ways, right?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, no doubt about it. And we are still, all of us are in touch. We have a group, we keep meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we help each other, we solve problems for each other. So I think that this bonding remains forever.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I think my biggest takeaway from my MBA time was my peers and my friends, because I can pick up the phone and call anybody in any industry with any problem, and I'll have a
Correct.
solution,
Sure.
right?
So that's the networking.
That's
I
the
think
network that you
all the
get.
students who are there
Mhm.
on
On the
this
campus, yeah.
call now, they
Yeah.
must understand that they must value networking more than anything else because it's so important in today's world.
Yeah, yeah.
So important.
Yeah, true. And the world is also changing so quickly. Now the buzzwords are AI and data driven decision making and things like that. Any advice to our prospective MBA students or new MBA students on how to sort of learn uh, using AI in business, and what kind of dramatic impact it's creating in the retail business for sure?
Well, it is creating a dramatic impact, and still a lot of experimentation is going on. But the way you will shop on e-commerce will change because of generative AI. Completely, it will change. We are in retail, while we are talking about personalization and bespoke and other things. In e-commerce, they're working on fingerprint scanning. The moment you put your fingerprint on the app,
Computer, yeah.
it will know what you want and it will provide you. You don't have to go through a plethora of choices. It will give
Forms
you a
and choices.
customized solution that this is what probably you will want. So while there are companies who are doing it in physical form, that
Mhm.
there are companies in US which are building solution centric apparel advice, working like a stylist for you.
Mhm.
So they'll ask you to fill a form, and then you send your form and preferences, and they'll send you a pack of 5 garments to choose from. And if you're a lawyer, they'll send you a certain kind of, if you're a doctor, a certain kind of attire, depending on what your profession is. That experiment is going on in India also. But to technology, it can reach out very fast. You just need
Mhm.
to put your finger scan, you have to register, and then it's done for you. You don't have to waste your time going to a shopping floor and So it's going to that extent. I think
Fascinating.
we should be reading a lot about it as much as possible. Also look around, what problems do you think retail is facing today? If you go to a store, be observant. I'm talking to the students, not to you, telling
Yeah,
them,
of course. Yes.
be very observant. If you have an issue with parking, can technology solve that issue? If you have an issue with finding a right merchandise or your size inside the store or a certain product, how can technology help? There are small issues, a lot of it, which some companies, which are legacy companies, take a long time to shift to. So, for example, if you go to a established company, it will take a long time. Like, for example, I'm told that the air traffic system, this software installed in the 1940s or 50s,
It's
and
still
since then
working.
it has not been updated,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because if they update it, they take time, and the entire airline industry has to shut down for some time.
Mm.
So it has not been updated. So it's just running on that legacy software. So
Yeah.
be observant, be curious. That's the mantra. You will solve problems when you are aware, when you are in that zone where your awareness is high. Then only you can solve problems.
You know, this has been so fascinating. I can ask you 10 more questions, but I think
Please,
our audience will want to ask some too. So while we are
please,
waiting for our audience to ask some questions, I have
yes,
one last question for you. Uh, you know, a very big trend that at least I have observed is also in some ways sustainable products as well as pre-loved products, right? There is this whole movement that we should have conscious fashion and not fast fashion. And how do you make sure that you continue to look at sustainability as a concept in the retail industry? So much so that Selfridges has a whole floor now dedicated to pre-loved products. Do you see that trend in India? Is that something you all are looking at in the company that you are associated with?
we are watching that trend very closely because that's the competition to our business.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
it is a very, very big competition to our business. Pre-loved, right now, it is not in the mass segment. It's not
Mm-hmm.
in the mid segment. It's more in the very
Elite,
premium
yeah,
luxury
elite.
segment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and why not? People have money. They buy a product, then they go to one party. They carry that product, and don't want to be seen with that product again.
Mm-hmm.
They want to carry something else next time. So what do you do with that? So
Mm-hmm.
then that is where this whole pre-loved product, and one company which is almost like a $3 billion valuation company now in the US, called Rent a Runway.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Oh yeah, yes.
yeah they buy products and then they rent it out. So
Mm-hmm.
why even buy? You can just rent it,
Yeah.
and so that's where it has gone. But
Yeah.
yes, there is strong awareness. We have been picking insights from youth.
Mm-hmm.
There's strong awareness about my own daughter. She wants to buy products from a thrift shop. This is what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with it. Just
Mm-hmm.
because somebody has worn it once,
Mm-hmm.
I can also wear it. It's washed, cleaned, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind. So there is definitely a trend towards pre-loved.
Mm-hmm.
Sustainability is a subject. It is interest of everyone
Mm-hmm.
to whether we make a large number of garments or not. We should make them in a more sustainable way,
Mm-hmm.
and we should dispose them of it also in a sustainable way. That is where and also all the contact points that come in between. So, for example, we have a whole playbook in our company that drives our sustainability goals. So, for example, power consumption, packaging material. Uh, Sustainability is also about following ethical practices. It's
Yeah,
not
sure.
just about environment, it's also about
Yeah,
ethical. The whole ESG has to be administered completely.
yeah.
So your governance has to be right. So sustainable is slightly a broader term, and we need a much bigger playbook. It's not only just about products.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
about a way of
The
life.
whole system and the way you are producing everything. Yeah.
And now stock markets are started giving you certain merit if you are a ESG
Sustainable,
compliant.
yeah, ESG compliant company. Yeah. Okay,
So
that was really exciting. Why don't we take a few questions from the audience?
please, yeah,
One of the
sure.
questions that somebody is asking is, what's your take on Puma's PV Sindhu ambassador revealed? They recently got PV Sindhu as their ambassador. So, what's your take on that?
What about it? She's a brilliant sports person,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure Puma is going to get into a collaboration rather than
With,
just being a
uh,
an anchor endorser.
mhm. So, yeah,
I'm
we can
sure they are
see from.
getting into a new field. Maybe they're making. I'm not very aware of all the details
Mm-hmm.
on what they want to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
but they had Virat Kohli for the longest time,
Yeah.
and now Mr. Kohli is fading a little bit.
So now it's
Uh,
PV Sindhu. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had Virat Kohli as my brand ambassador for Flying Machine, even when he had not played one
But
first one day.
he was I think at that point he was a Ranji player, or he was some of
He was
something.
playing IPL, but he had not played for India.
He had not played for India.
He had just
Hmm.
come out of under 19 when we picked him
Under
up.
19, correct. So
Yeah.
another question that we have is, uh, do you think Zepto's 10-minute cafe will be sustainable? And what's your take on this 10-minute delivery trend? What impact can it have on the environment and wastage?
Very heavy impact.
Mm,
First of all, people are running all over the roads,
mm,
trying to deliver in 10 minutes. But why do you want everything in 10 minutes? I'm not able to understand. You can get it
mm,
in 15, 20. Second is it will lead to a lot of stuff getting opened in unhygienic places
yeah.
because you want to be closer to the consumer. You
So
will
you
open a
get
shop where it
stores.
is the
Yeah.
cheapest. Now, I read some articles which were saying that uh, people are being provided uh, a refrigerator and a warmer, and they're
Hmm.
keeping ready to heat food so that it can
Oh, so
be,
that it can be
yeah,
delivered quickly.
delivered
Wow.
fast. So what you're ordering may not be fresh. I think weightage should be given to fresh rather than quick
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
far as food consumption is concerned.
Hmm.
Groceries you can understand, that's okay. That you can
Your
that does
local
not.
kirana shop is
Yeah,
anyway doing that. So
correct,
yeah,
correct,
yeah,
yeah. But food, the entire ecosystem must operate on freshness rather than on quickness.
yeah. So so this is a trend that could have a severe impact, is what you're saying.
Could have. I don't
Could
know.
have.
I
Yeah,
don't understand that business that well, but
yeah,
that's my reading
yeah,
to answer the question. But it is there to stay.
yeah.
There are too many players in it.
And too much of venture capital money. So, uh, so another question we have is in today, like today, Gen AI's influence on consumer insights are very valuable. But how can we balance between learning those details about what the consumer wants versus protecting a consumer's privacy?
Tricky question because
Mm,
consumers are themselves giving all the details.
mm,
So they're signing on to anything and everything and giving
mm,
away all the details. And signing on, without knowing that they have given their privacy to someone.
mhm,
But anyway, that besides the insights is another story.
mhm,
Insights is you can gather insights by doing market research, and you can gather insights even by knowing what the gaps are. So one of the examples of you have a small tool that you can attach to Google, and it's over the uh, uh, you can attach it over on your phone or your laptop, and you can find out what are the what are the things that people are asking for and not getting. So what are the keywords that they are searching or products that they are searching, but nobody has it. So this is a big insight based on which many brands, especially the D2C brands, are getting launched. Uh, so similarly, if you look at what I was talking about earlier, the fingerprint scan, person is known completely through his various journeys on retail and on e-commerce. And the use of AI is saving time on making the discovery process and the consumer journey much simpler for him, and especially for people who have lack of time, who are always on the run. That if a recommendation is coming in a uh, certain way which is conducive to shopping, it can make a lot of difference. So insights, yes, very important. Privacy, the guy who's parting with it needs to decide how much he wants to give.
So you, so they definitely should be reading all of that before saying,
Yes.
yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
It includes all of us also. It's not,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's a whole kettle of, I mean, it's a whole Pandora's box. I think we have time just for one last question, and I'm
All
going to
right.
ask that, Alok. I don't want to keep you beyond your stipulated
No, no
time.
problem.
If you were mentoring a current business school student who was passionate about retail, what are the three top skills that you would advise them to focus on mastering in these 2 years in their MBA program?
See, the most important thing in retail is it's an everyday business. It's a 24/7 business, and it involves very complex interfaces. So, for example, your supply chain is complex, your warehousing is complex, and your storefront is also complex because you need to really create it and be ready, every day at the same time, whether you close the store at 10 o'clock in the night or 11 in the night, the store opening time is fixed, closing time is not.
Mhm.
So and I'm talking about offline retail. Online retail is open 24/7. So you have to be really, really. So the three words that I mentioned: newness, responsiveness, and agility. These three things are very, very important for retail. When I say retail is a 24/7 business, it means that it's a very disciplined business. Things have to move in a certain way, in a cadence, in a certain written down SOP, and you should not deviate from the SOPs if you want to be very successful in retail. Working on SOPs is you need to build on resilience. You need to be ready to do repetitive work hundreds of times. So I think that it comes by practice. Once it gets into your DNA, it becomes you become very adept to that job and you start enjoying it. So uh, it's like a guy, what is it called? It's a badigar, who goes to catch birds. He goes in the morning, catches birds. Every day he does the same thing, but he still enjoys that.
Yeah.
Doing that job. It's a similar job that you must enjoy retail. Once you start enjoying retail, once you start, enjoying your interaction with the consumers, and you enjoy little details of that you maximize happiness for the consumer by doing this and that, then it's a journey worth taking. So I would say that communication, focusing on your key result area, which is what the consumer wants from you. He wants newness, he wants responsiveness, and he wants agility. Right. So three pillars of business. And last but not the least, cadence and SOPs. If you can focus on these three areas, then you will be very, very successful in retail. It will give you everything.
Thank you so much, Alok. That was really, really interesting and inspiring. And I'm sure you have so many stories to tell us. So hopefully we'll be able to invite you to campus to
Sure.
spend
No
some time
problem.
with our students and our prospective students. I'm just going to leave everybody with a screenshot of a barcode that you could scan in case you're interested in knowing more about the Badruka School of Management as well as our flagship PGDBM program. Admissions for it are on currently. We are building a brilliant class together. The peer network that you will have is really remarkable. The faculty that you will see are remarkable from all over the world. We are getting rock star faculty to teach you. I really hope some of you take advantage of that.